Developing person. Let's start out with conception. So I think a lot of you know that in order to have a baby you have to have sex, but maybe what a lot of you don't know is that the egg is released for only about a 24-hour period. So day 14 is the day when they believe that women can conceive. So that's day 14 means if you count from the first day of the woman's menstrual cycle, then on the 14th day is around about the time when she'll be ovulating. However, the sperm can live up in the vagina for about 3 days. So there's a time in the midpoint of the cycle when she's most likely to conceive. So once the sperm meets the egg, there's 3 stages of prenatal development. The zygotic stage. So right after the sperm meets the egg, around day 14, the egg starts to divide into cells, and they keep dividing. And then after about a 2-week time period, it will roll down the fallopian tubes. So conception takes place in the fallopian tubes. It'll roll down the fallopian tubes, the blastocyst, and it attaches to the uterus. And once it attaches to the uterus, then that becomes the embryonic stage. So during the embryonic stage, basically all the basic organs are developed. So the basic organs of the child are all developed by about 8 weeks. So that's called the embryonic stage. Then the final stage is called the fetal stage, and that's about 9 weeks until birth. And basically what happens is the organ systems continue growing and developing. So I have pictures of each of these stages coming up. So here, this right here is the blastocyst. So it started out with the sperm meeting the egg, and then it started dividing. This became a ball, and then it started rolling down the fallopian tubes, and it eventually attaches after the first 2 weeks. And as you can see, it's about 1/10 of an inch long. The heart is developing. This is the first month. This is 2 months, so now we're getting at the end of the embryonic stage. So it says 1 inch long, the heart is beating, eyes begin to form detail, internal organs grow, especially the digestive system. The sex organs rapidly develop and sex is distinguished, and arm and leg forms grow. So at the end of the embryo stage, basically all the basic organ systems have been set up. Now, the rest of these pictures are all the fetal stage. So at 3 months, the baby is about 2.5 to 3 inches long. All organs are fully formed. It has begun kicking and swallowing, and the digestive organs begin to function. This is 4 months. I'm not going to read each line for you, but at around 4 months, this is about when the woman would start to show. Some women don't show until 5 or 6 months. If she's very thin, then maybe she would show at 3 months, but usually women don't start to really show the baby until 4 months because this is when the baby's about the time when it can be detected, 7 inches long. The mom can start to feel the little kicks, feel like little butterfly movements inside of her. Then 5 months, here we go, hiccups, and the baby's now 12 inches long. 6 months. Now this is the time when the baby could survive if it was born, but it'll be very small, premature baby. 7 months. We have 8 months. The baby's basically adding lots of weight at this time. And then at the end of 9 months, then the baby is usually born. So let's talk about pregnancy a little bit. I guess what women should know is that, and I don't think doctors stress this enough. I've had many babies myself, and I have never had doctors like really sit me down and talk to me about the importance of a healthy pregnancy. But when you think about it, it's your most important. It's the most important time because basically you're giving the baby the brain that it will have for the rest of its life. So if you're not really taking care of yourself, then you're setting the baby up for life. So one thing that we should be aware of is teratogens, agents such as chemicals and viruses that can reach the embryo or fetus during prenatal development and cause harm. So we're going to find out that I'm going to say that no alcohol is good. Now, I know I have a lot of students in my classes with their doctors are saying, oh, one glass of wine is okay. I'm going to disagree with that, and I would really question the doctor because I don't think that we know for sure. Is it okay? And when I show you the pictures of fetal alcohol syndrome and that it is the number one cause of mental retardation, I think maybe we should rethink that statement. I personally would not touch alcohol. Also smoking and illegal and legal drugs. Probably before taking any medication, aspirin, any cough syrup, anything, any antidepressants, anything, I would check with a doctor and I would double check. I would look online and I would really do the research because, sometimes doctors, they may be informed or they may not be informed, but it's a big responsibility to be developing the child that grows within inside of you. So what can affect development? See, nutrition, and that's something that's very interesting to me. Maybe at the lower income status, maybe women are educated more, but I have never once had a doctor pull me aside and sit me down and say, okay, this is exactly what you need to eat and why you need to eat it. And I really want to take a look at your diet. What my experience has been, and like I said, as I've had many children, I've had 5, and what each one of them, that you just go in, you give a urine sample, they do your weight, they do your blood pressure, they may do a pelvic exam, and then goodbye. That's always what I got. And I had many different doctors because with each doctor I'd probably have problems with them. They tend to, nowadays they like to induce labor. And I would always fight them on inducing labor and so on and so forth. So I would switch doctors frequently looking for one that was going to allow me to be who I was. And so it's not like I was just with one doctor. Many times the doctors, that's their routine. You're in, blood pressure, go out. So these are some things that I wanted to educate you on. We'll see. I'll go into the specifics of these in just a minute. Here, this is what I wanted to show you about alcohol. Fetal alcohol syndrome is the leading known cause of mental retardation and birth defects. That's why I disagree with any statement that says one glass of wine is okay. I think that we just don't know. There's not much that we know about pregnancy, for sure, and I certainly wouldn't risk it, but that's on you. Decreased alertness, hyperactivity, mental retardation, motor problems, heart defect, abnormal facial features. Like I said, the thing to think about is when you're pregnant, and I don't think that this is stressed enough, is you are giving that baby the brain that it will have for the rest of its life. And certainly we know from the 5 schools of psychology we may be able to influence that, but we're not sure how much. 1 in every 5 pregnant women uses alcohol and or other drugs. Alcohol produces the most serious neurobehavioral effects when compared to other drugs, including heroin, cocaine, and marijuana. 3 times as many women use alcohol during pregnancy than used illegal drugs. So it's just something to think about. This is the facial features of a fetal alcohol syndrome child. Ways to promote health during prenatal development. I'd like to throw this in here because maybe this might be the only time when you receive this type of information. The first thing is what research has shown is that women who ate less than 70 grams of protein a day had children with lower IQs. Now that's correlational, so we don't know for sure. We learned when we went over research methods that correlation does not mean causation. However, the brain is built on protein, on amino acids, and so it's very important to get enough protein. So when you're pregnant, you should really watch your intake. And I think personally that to get 70 grams of protein, that's a lot. I would really have to count everything. And I mean, because when you think about it, a yogurt is 5 grams, an egg is 7 grams, a milk is 9 grams, peanut butter is 7 grams. So you really have to put it now. Chicken breast would be 20 grams. So you really have to think about how much protein you're eating. Now, another thing is people tend to say, I'm eating for 2. Having many babies myself, I do not recommend that. I can tell you that even if you eat normal, you're probably going to gain quite a bit of weight in your pregnancy. And so when you think of eating for 2, think about how big that 2 is. In the very beginning, look, it didn't even turn 7 inches until about 4 months. And at the very end, the baby is only 20 inches long, 21 inches long, and it weighs about 7 pounds. So how much does that baby really need to eat? So what they think is they think that you only need to add about an additional 300 calories a day. And I would also advocate exercise. If we were studying biological psychology, I would tell you that what research has found is that exercise is the way that we release these things called neurotropins. And neurotropins are brain chemicals that are chemicals that facilitate brain growth. And so we don't know for sure, can neurotropins pass the placental barrier, but exercise is going to be very beneficial for a woman because one thing is she's going to need a lot of energy when the baby is born, so she needs to keep in shape to push the baby out during labor. And also, when a woman is pregnant, she's releasing this hormone called relaxin. And relaxin is spreading her joints and making things looser so that the baby can fit through the birth canal. By her exercising, it gives her body a way to really adapt to all the relaxin that's being released, and it allows her to keep her center of gravity. So the women that just kind of sit and they're not exercising a lot of times they have lots of problems because their body isn't able to adjust to the relaxin very well. You'll see that their legs swell, so on and so forth. So exercising will really help getting the blood circulating, the fluid going through you, and we release the neurotropins, which would facilitate brain growth, and it's just all around better for you to stay healthy. Okay, you also need a prenatal vitamin. They'll tell you that. Now, some women get very sick on the vitamins, so if that's what happens to you, then they'll tell you, no, you don't have to take it. But you need the folic acid in order to develop the spinal tube. There's a disorder, spinal bifida, and this is when the neural tube doesn't fully close, and so having enough folic acid will help that. Now, folic acid is found in bread, so if you eat plenty of breads and cereals, you don't have anything to worry about. Okay, I would check with a doctor before ingesting any type of drug substance, anything. I really would. I would look it up online and I would check it out before you do it. I mean, no doctor even told me this. I had to find it out online and through research is retin A, which is common for women to use for acne and things like that, that can be very dangerous to children. So be very careful. Do your research. I already talked about the benefits of exercising. If you add a bunch of fat cells during pregnancy, first of all, getting the pregnancy weight off is very difficult to begin with. And exercising will just help you be in better shape for when the baby comes. The prenatal stimulation of the baby, reading, singing, talking. So babies can hear at about 6 months. And so some people believe in reading to the baby in the womb or talking a lot or playing music. We haven't had like really significant research results. We do know for sure that they can hear in the research study. I'm not sure if it's in your book, but I'm pretty sure it is. Where they had a pregnant woman read The King and I, which is one type of story, and The Cat in a Hat, which is another type of story. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me back this up. Actually, the woman only read The Cat in the Hat. So she read The Cat in the Hat to her growing uterus, her stomach area, each day for the last 3 months of her pregnancy. And then when the baby came out, they had this contraption set up where there was a pacifier on one side of its face and a pacifier on the other side of its face. And if it sucked on one side, then it could hear The Cat in the Hat. If it sucked on the other side, then it could hear The King and I. And so what they found is the children preferred the pacifier where they could hear The Cat in the Hat. And they are guessing that it's because it was familiar to the child. Also, babies can recognize their father's voices if the father talked a lot to the baby within days of the child coming out. So this is something to think about. Also, decreased stress. Stress has been implicated in interfering with different hormones in the womb. And so if you can at all, try to decrease the stress. Try to make your pregnancy a relaxing time. However, I know that that's not possible sometimes.